Welcome to the Family Brand Show. We're Chris and Melissa Smith of FamilyBrand.com, husband and wife, parents of 5, and we want to help you take back your family and to live life on your terms.
And we know being a family can feel really overwhelming. Parents tell us they feel like they're being pulled in a million different directions. It's so challenging to navigate the uncertainty and all the chaos that's happening in the world right now.
And that's why we want to bring you every single week actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to become a better parent, to become a better spouse, and to build a stronger family. And look, there's never been a better time and a more important time than right now to take back your family. You can define what your family stands for, or the world is going to do it for you. And the world needs strong families now more than ever. And it starts right here with your family. Hello and welcome to the Family Brand Podcast, or welcome back to the Family Brand Podcast. I feel like it's been forever, Melissa, since you and I did a podcast episode. And it's our first episode in our new house. We moved into our home.
Yeah, today's episode is brought to you from the new office/studio. And I think it might be a little bit echoey why we don't like have a rug down or anything. We need to finish some things. So if you're hearing a little echo, forgive that.
Yeah. Maybe that's kind of fun, though. We can look back on some of these episodes and be like, oh, there was an echo in there because we just moved in. We didn't have any furniture.
Our pipes froze today.
Yes.
We live in Arizona, but it got kind of cold last night, and we're on a well now, and our water wasn't working. We were like, oh no. We called the well people, and they were like, oh, it could just be your pipes are frozen. So that was kind of weird. All the new adventures of moving into a new house and figuring out the ins and outs of
Being on a well.
Yeah, living a new life in a new house.
And we were stoked for 2025. Melissa and I just got back from our 20-year wedding anniversary trip. We've been married. Yeah,
We've made it.
2 decades. It's crazy to think 20 years, how fast it has gone. And really, we're right in the middle of basketball season. I'm coaching 7th grade girls basketball. Our son Tanner plays basketball. We're also in the middle of wrestling season. Our son Tate is wrestling. And so we did a really short weekend getaway in which we planned our actual 20-year trip, which we're going to do this fall, which I'm really excited about. But it was so fun. Melissa and I always say, have we ever come back from a getaway mad at each other, regretting that we went, saying we really ought to do this less often?
No, never. And with that being said, I have heard from people that have felt that way, which that's okay. If you do try and do a getaway and you do feel like, hey, that was more confronting and not as fun as I would have hoped. Like, I think that's okay too.
Yeah.
Like, it's all, it gives you a place to work from, but it was really good. And I feel like for the last 6 months, we really have been busy. Like, I know so many families are. We just haven't made the time to get away like we usually like to. We usually like to get away more often together. And afterwards, after this weekend, I told Chris, see, you just got to take me away.
Melissa's like, see,
I
actually like you again.
Not that I didn't, but, move. We just, like we said, we've been moving and it's been stressful. And this week alone, I think we have like 8 basketball games and or wrestling matches or tournaments. And it's just a busy phase of life.
Because Tanner plays JV and varsity. Tanner has 8.
Oh, yeah.
Ivy has 2. That's 10 basketball games. Tate has a wrestling meet tomorrow and then a wrestling tournament this weekend.
All day, Friday, Saturday.
Those are just 3 of the 5 kids. And we couldn't be more excited and more blessed at this season of life. It's so fun.
But it's really easy. Maybe I'll try a bow on this. And before we move on to the next thing, it's really easy to find reasons why we couldn't get away, why it wasn't practical, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm so glad that we did, even in the midst of all that stuff that we have going on. So,
yeah,
go ahead.
No, I would just add to that. It's this quote we often share is, does blank get the best of us, or does it get what's left of us? And when I say blank, it could be anything. Is our marriage getting what's best of us or what's left of us after we give everything to our kids? Is our family getting the best of us instead of what's left of us after we give everything to like maybe our business? And I think for Melissa and I, we realized that we fell into a bit of a trap without even knowing it, or a bit of a habit, I guess, the last 6 months of the year, where I think our marriage was just getting what was left of us instead of at times the best of us. So it was good to refocus and kind of recenter, which brings us to the whole purpose of today's episode. And Melissa's tapping him on the shoulder because there's one more thing she wants to say about this.
Well, last thing I'll say is with our getaway, we have really been, I feel like we had a theme for the getaway that we kind of decided on together. And one of the part of it was like, we want to get some stuff done, a lot of which was planning for 2025. And so we made a lot of progress on a lot of things. And we, over the course of the many years, have come up with like a really cool system of how we like to approach these getaways. What are the things we like to talk about and focus on? And how do we use them not just like a time to have fun, which that was the other half of our
Have fun and get stuff done.
of our intention, but how do you really use it to propel you or spring you forward into the next year of your marriage or your life? And so we are kind of putting all the different things we've ever done at these couples getaways together. So look for that. We're gonna do a podcast about that coming soon, kind of unpacking it when it comes time for you to take a getaway, like with your partner. How do you make it a really impactful and meaningful getaway, and kind of a system to follow to make it easier?
A getaway guide,
A getaway guide,
if you will. One of the things that you've heard us talk about previously, if you've listened to the podcast, and I think even just maybe a couple episodes back or a few episodes back, is how to bring the current year you're in, 2024, for example, to a close, and then how to create a lot of momentum and clarity in the new year. And it's still not too late to do that. You know, if you go to familybrand.com/best, Melissa's laid out this incredible, very simple, easy to follow process. Gives you reflection questions for the previous year, gives you some questions about the upcoming year or the year you're in. We've had families who don't stumble upon this until the spring, the summer, and still do it and find a lot of value in it.
Side note, I spoke last week to a group of women and kind of shared some of this idea of the best year yet guide. And one of the women was like, "Oh, I'm going to save this for next year." And then another woman was like, "Why are you saving it for next year? Like, it's January." I think it was January 9th that day. She's like, "It's January 9th. Start do it this year."
I relate to that though. I'm like, oh, it's January 2nd. It's over. I blew it. Like that's my personality.
Anyway, so just to drive home the point, like, hey, whenever you're listening to this, we actually talked to our little kids about this morning at the breakfast table. It's never too late. Like, you don't have to wait for a Monday or the first the first month or the first day of the new month. Like, whatever. Like, you can start fresh whenever you're listening to this.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'll say, if you go to familybrand.com/best, and or if you look at an Instagram post that I'll make sure we link to in the show notes with the 9 questions, Melissa and I have developed these 9 questions that really do allow us to reflect and get so much clarity and just extract so much wisdom and lessons from the year we've just completed, and really think about what we want from the new year. One of the things I had never done though is I had never taken those reflection questions and used them in other areas of my life. We've always used them to reflect individually, just as kind of our entire lives, and to reflect as a family. And then what you do with those reflection questions, after you've reflected individually and written some things down, it then kind of naturally leads you to choosing a theme or a word that you really want to embody for the year that's important to you. And then same thing as a family. We reflect as a family, we have a conversation as a family, and then we choose a word or a theme, and we'll share all that with you. And that's been really great because I feel like every year for the past several years, I have a ton of clarity going into the new year. I have my vision board, I have my word, my theme. Our family has a word or a theme and a lot of clarity. I decided though this year, one of the things that's really important to me is to really become a better CEO for the Possibility Company. And I was like, why couldn't I take these same questions and reflect on how I showed up as a leader last year in this very specific domain of my life around leadership and being a CEO? And why could I not use those questions to really think about the kind of leader I want to be, the kind of CEO I want to be heading into next year? It was so profound for me. I got so many insights. And then I reflected on how I showed up to my health using those questions. And then I reflected on how I showed up to my marriage. So these 9 questions, I would just encourage you to really dive into them. And then one thing that Melissa and I decided to do on our getaway that we'd never done before is we always, or for years, we've chosen a word or a theme individually. And then for our family, we've never had a word or a theme for just our marriage. And I just was thinking, why not? Like, why not do that? And so over we just did it over a workout where we were just working out together, and we were the only 2 people in the little workout gym at the resort. And we just reflected on what did we like about last year? What did we not like? What were the challenges? What were the highs, the lows? Basically all these questions. What do we want for next year? It was really useful and really insightful because again, when you reflect, you see things that you otherwise wouldn't have. And I think it was the reflection plus what we wanted for this year that helped us come up with our theme as a couple for the year is have fun and get stuff done.
Yeah, we decided just to continue on the intention that we had for our getaway. We just thought, like, we had so much fun with that, and it was so useful. Like, let's just keep that going the rest of the year.
And it's wild if you commit to, like, look, you can come up with the most insightful, inspired, meaningful word or phrase for you, your family, your marriage. And if you don't pay attention to it, you'll likely forget it within a week or 2, and it will probably do very little for you for the rest of the year. And sadly, there's been years where that has been me. And then there's other years like this last year, my word was grow. And I thought about it and pondered on it and challenged myself with it, had it as the background on my phone. And like, I feel like I got a lot out of it. And I would say we've already, if we stick with it, if we sustain it, it will continue to help us. We've already, I would say, had a lot of fun this year and gotten more stuff done already just because of having that as like a lens but you really do. It's not just coming up with the word or the theme for you, for your family, for your marriage. It's also this idea of, am I going to commit to it and be consistent with it? And simple little things like, I don't know if you can see this on the video, but like Ivy's, our daughter, she's really good with Canva. And for the last couple of years, I'd give her my word and then she goes and turns it into like a background image for my phone. And I look at it every day. And then we have our vision boards up. And so there's visual things and visual cues you can do to remind you as well.
So I find myself wanting to keep talking about our couples retreat and like dissecting that. But like I said, we're doing that in a different episode. So I want to come back to the whole family. It's a new year. If you're listening to this, thank you to everyone who participated in we call it the best year yet content that Chris is kind of talking about here with the reflection questions, the vision boarding. We kind of tell you exactly how to do all that. And we've had so many people that have either reached out to us directly or on social media just saying they have a good experience. Oh, we also do the family end of the year awards, like all these cool things that we kind of package together for families. So thank you to everyone that participated in that. And then I guess moving forward, if you're listening now, I thought it would be cool on this episode to kind of just take you through a little bit of our process of how we've approached all of this for our family, because there are some things that as we've been doing it, I realized like, oh, this would be good to talk about. Like, we don't necessarily address this in the download or we kind of tweaked how we've done it this year. So I thought it'd be cool to just walk through a little bit how our family arrived on a word together this year, what our word is. Chris and I have individual words, and not to be an episode where you just like listen to what our words are, but it's more like the process that you can follow to do the same for your family. And so what we've done is we took the reflection questions that Chris is talking about. We had each of us Chris and I filled one out. The kids filled one out. And then Chris and I, we have a little meeting together. And I think this year we had the meeting, it was after the New Year's. And we talked about, we looked at everyone's papers. And on one of the questions is, what do you think our family could focus on next year? And it was really interesting to see how everyone answered. And there was quite a bit of overlap. Not everyone, but 2 or 3 similar answers popped up more than once. And so we decided the theme for our family would kind of be centered around this idea of.
I would also say, and you'll see all this in the best year yet. The question, what do you think our family could work on or focus on the most next year? is after we've already asked some other questions. Because I think those questions are important because it gets people primed and kind of, it's not the first question. We don't just jump
Mm,
right in like, hey,
yeah,
so what can our family work on next year? But you'll see all of that in the how Melissa's
the
laid it out.
download. Yeah. So Chris and I decided, and this is an important, I think, thing to discuss, is being the leaders of your family as the parents, as the mother or the father. I always love getting our kids feedback, but at the end of the day, I think it's important that we do show up as the leaders and decide, okay, we're taking feedback from everyone, but what do we as the parents, what do we feel like is the thing that we want to focus on this year as a family? And so then Chris and I decide together, and then we kind of present to the family, hey, based on your feedback and our own insights or impressions, we feel okay, this would be wonderful. Include God in the process. If you pray, like this would be the time to do that and really settle on, okay, what can we focus on this year? And then we tell the kids, like, hey, we've decided that our word, what we're going to focus on this year is peace. How do exactly, I'm like spacing, how do exactly are we
Well,
presented?
yeah, it could be a word or a phrase. And so to back up a little further, that all of us, when we answered what could our family focus on the most, it was kind of split about 50-50. About half the family said, I think we could just be maybe a little bit more organized. And especially since we just moved into our new home, we could just keep it really clean and nice, and kind of that idea of just cleanliness and peace around like just your
Like
surroundings, your
order.
environment,
Um,
order. And then the other half were kind of like more, being kind to each other, speaking kind words to each other. So we felt like no one actually said the word peace in either of those. It was more like cleanliness, order, kindness, but we just felt like peace captured it. And then Melissa and I do ponder on this and pray about it and talk to each other. And we kind of settled on this idea that our theme for the year is be at peace. And then because I love messaging and branding and positioning and I do this for companies, I was like, well, let's unpack that a little bit. And so for us, it would be at peace with yourself, with your family, and within our home. So within yourself, how do you create peace within you? With our family, how do we be kind to each other? And within our home, how do we keep our home orderly and cleanly, so like clean, so it feels peaceful? And so we kind of gave the kids that understanding and that context. And then what we do every year, because we really want them to feel part of it, not that they just had a hand in helping us shape it. And we always make sure, and I think this is really important, we make sure and tie it back to all of their feedback. And we really make it clear, like, yeah, your feedback and your insights led to this. And they can see, like, oh, I had a hand in shaping that. We then say, okay, and for us, I think we announced it on a Monday. We said this Sunday in our family check-in, we want everyone to come prepared to share a scripture and a quote that you think has a lot to do with peace. Because that's just part of what we've decided to do every year. We choose our theme, we choose a scripture or a quote that we all memorize together that goes with it. And again, it's a fun way to get everyone involved. And so everyone sent those to me. And then on Sunday evening, we sat down on the couch and from my phone, I just cast them up on the TV and we all just vote and we'll share with you the scripture and the quote. But that's a little bit of the process. But it really does help myself, Melissa, the kids, everyone really feels like I had a hand in shaping that and helping create it.
Share where we landed.
Indy, our 8-year-old, her scripture, one, she modified it. This isn't actually how it goes completely at the end. 2 Thessalonians 3:16. May the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times and in all things and in all places. And then Tripp and Tanner actually, without knowing it, sent me the same quote. And it was, nothing can bring you peace but yourself, by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And then our theme is be at peace. So what we do, for those of you who are familiar with the Family Brand Framework and the Family Brand Academy, and we help families create values in these 7 core categories, we always have an 8th value, and that's our theme for that year. So we kind of always have a rotating value. So last year, our phrase was get that dog in you. So one of the values was Smith's got that dog in him. This year it's Smiths are at peace.
And one little hack that I think is fun. So part of what we do is with our family and other families, we encourage you to set a time aside where you can revisit your family values. For us, that works at breakfast. We because like I mentioned, we have all those activities in the evening, like games and wrestling and whatever. We are together more breakfast more often than we are for dinner. So we've decided at breakfast we are going to say our family values together. And it doesn't happen every single morning, but more often than not, we will say our family values together. And one hack that you may have heard us share before, but I've been reminded lately how important it is put your family values to action. It was really, when our kids were little, like our youngest was probably 3 or 4, it was important just to do to get them involved. But even now that they're older, our youngest is now 8 and our oldest is 17, it actually turns it into something that's fun. Like even our 17-year-old and our almost 16-year-old, it's kind of a joke, but it has them do it. So like the actions and repeating the family values, like having actions to it makes it way more fun and gets everyone participating more willingly. And we all kind of riff on coming up with, okay, what actions should we do here? So for example, last year with Smith's got that dog in him, someone would then say, "Who let the would then say, "Who let the dogs out?" And then the whole family would go, "Who, who." And that was just a really fun way that everyone got involved in it. This year, we have actions for all of our family values, but with this new family value, we had a discussion of like, okay, what are we going to do with this family value? And so Smiths are at peace, followed by, if you're not watching this on video, it would just be like, I don't know what pose you would call this, but just
The kids do have so much fun coming up with actions to go along with the values, and it's really creative. It really does. Even for me, it's like, if, we're going to say them every morning, to have actions with it, it does help just keep it fresh, I think.
Yeah. So if you have family values and you don't have actions, get actions.
And look, start anywhere. Like anything's great. And
Yeah.
just for us, people sometimes ask, well, what do you do in the mornings? Our routine, I guess, or rhythm that we've gotten into is we open with our scripture that is our scripture for the year. We recite that together. We recite the quote, and then we go into our mission, vision, values. We usually do something kind of fun, like, hey, once everyone has the new scripture and quote memorized, we'll all go to, ice cream or dessert or, just trying to make it fun. So,
And then we do a devotional. The kids take turns giving a devotional in the morning.
so that was arriving at a theme for us as a family. It's a very similar process when you're coming up with a theme for yourself, but you're just thinking about those same exact questions for you individually. Do you want to share your word for the year?
Yeah. My word for the year is maker. I love the idea of create or creator, but I've had that word in the past and I wanted something a little more fresh that I maybe felt a little more connected to. And when I was flipping through magazines, I found this word really big that said maker. And I just really love that because I've already been using the word maker in my mind, all the ways I could be a different, like a homemaker, money maker, fun maker. I do not intend to have a baby this
Baby
year, so
maker.
I'm not a baby maker. But it's been fun to explore all the different ways I want to be a maker this year. And also something else that had been in my mind is I've been reading this book called The Artist's Way, and it talks about like reawakening creativity. I'd already started reading that book. And so it all just felt really aligned with the word of maker and choosing that for the year.
Yeah, I love that word. It's really unique. My word for the year is fearless. And it was interesting. The more I've thought about it, to me, what that means isn't that I don't have fear. It's that I have fear less than I do now. And I allow fear to have less of an impact on me. I allow fear to, or I don't, fear, it has less of an ability to keep me from taking action on things. And I actually think that the idea of fearless is not that I would never experience fear. It's that I have fear and yet I move forward anyways. And in fact, I start moving towards my fear. Like I start using fear sometimes. Often, obviously, there's times where you feel fear for a reason because something's trying to, like, your intuition's trying to keep you safe, and like it would be wise and useful to not, go there. And I often think more often than not, though, our fear is sometimes our biggest clue that, like, hey, there's something over here for you. Like, walk towards it. And yeah, I've already been able to use it in a lot of ways. Even on New Year's Eve itself, I knew that was going to be my word. Some years I come in kind of knowing my word. Some years I don't know it for, until that night or the next day. And Melissa, we always have, shouldn't say always, but for years now, our friends, also the Smiths, no relation, come and do New Year's Eve with us, and we take turns between their house and our house. So they came here this year. We did something we'd never done before. Melissa, this would fall in making new memories as maker. Melissa rented out these really cool hot springs. So there's two hot tubs.
Small hot, very tiny hot bathtubs, basically.
And we both have 5 kids each. So 14 of us were crammed, and which that's because our kids just all like our family. So it was fun. But then there's a pond it was really cold. And I'm sitting there on the dock and I'm like, I really want my kids to get in here because I love watching my kids do hard things. But I was like, but I don't want to get in here. And then I thought, okay, my word's fearless. And I just jumped, and our kids probably would have got in anyways, but I think maybe it had something to do with it. Then everyone kind of got in and it was cool. But I was like, oh, that's an interesting, I'm already having an experience of like, if I really commit to this word throughout the year and use it. And again, I don't think you have to be super rigid with your word. For me, it's been more of like, it's a lens that I put on. It's like a set of glasses that I try to see, am I showing up this way? Am I becoming more of this, rather than maybe a checklist of all the things I'm doing or not doing? But yeah, I mean, Melissa, when I say Melissa's laid this out in the most simple, easy to follow, because I know that most families are like, I don't need another thing to do. And that's true. This will not be another thing to do. This will be something that will actually make the year easier and simpler for you, potentially your marriage, your family, your children, and it's already all done for you. And it's not one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, this is really easy. Like the play set that you get, it takes you 7 days to put it together, but they've told you it's really easy to follow the instructions. This is actually like really, really simple.
And I think, like you're saying, it gives you a lens by which to operate the rest of your year that you can keep coming back to again and again. Just not another thing. It's like the thing to do at the beginning of the year to start your year with some intention. So that's kind of the process that we've been following this year, where we've landed as far as our words and the words of our family. So yeah, I'd love to hear how it's going for your family. Tag us on social media, reach out. Love to hear how this has helped you as you plan 2025.
Yep. familybrand.com/best. We'll link to that, link to the Instagram post as a reflection questions, and have a blessed new year. And here's to 2025.
Thanks for hanging out with us today on the Family Brand Podcast. But wait, before you go, I want to give you something. It's something I stole out of our Family Brand Academy because I thought it would make a big difference for you, and I want you to have it for free, no strings attached. It's how we run our family meetings, and not just our family meetings that we have every week, but also our family check-ins, which is this system we've developed for how to connect with our kids and each other, Chris and I, every single week. And we've had some great outcomes with this. Not only have we, but a lot of families that have implemented this have as well. Actually, life-changing outcomes, if I'm being honest. You'll definitely want to get this. Go get your copy at familybrand.com/meeting, and we will catch you next time.